Hi, welcome, bienvenidos. Welcome to Seen and Heard. I'm Melia Bensussen, Artistic Director. I am so glad you're joining us here for our first Seen and Heard of our 61st season here at Hartford Stage. And we're celebrating the opening of the 61st season with a production of a new adaptation of Jekyll and Hyde. But before I get to that, I want you to take in that we're in a brand new location. We've never done Seen and Heard on a different scene. I know, you know, it's bad, fair enough. But the location is gorgeous. We are at the Mark Twain House here in downtown Hartford. It's an extraordinary museum, a gorgeous place. It's a historic, I'm gonna read this so I don't mess it up, a 25-room house of Sam and Olivia Clemens, right, who we know as Mark Twain. And we just thought it would be really fun for you to see how much Hartford Stage is embedded in this community and how important this community is to Hartford Stage. And one thing we love about this house is if we look over the fireplace, there's a quote of Emerson's that says here, the ornament of a house is the friends who frequent it. Robert Louis Stevenson, who wrote the original novella of Jekyll and Hyde that we've adapted, and Mark Twain were not close friends. They met in New York famously. Mark Twain talked about how handsome Robert Louis Stevenson was. But they both really changed the face of literature. Faulkner called Mark Twain the father of American letters, father of American literature. But here we are. I'm going to share the screen with three extraordinary actors who are part of our cast of the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And so with me here in this gorgeous house are Nathan Darrow, Sarah Chalfie, and Omar Robinson. Yay. Yay. Thank you for traveling with Hartford Stage. We're only around we're about 6-8 minutes drive from downtown Hartford, from our rehearsal room where we just wrapped up a day. And we're here to talk about what this play is, how we're doing it, why we're doing it, and how lucky we are here at Hartford Stage to have the three of you in Hartford with us. Nathan and Omar have been here before. Nathan and Omar were both in the production of A Winter's Tale that is now 1.5 years ago, because time kind of flew by. It keeps going. But Sarah is new to Hartford, so welcome all three of you. Welcome home, welcome back, and this will not be your only turn on this stage, I hope. So let's just start big picture. What is the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde about to each of you? And no particular order, just jump in.
This is such a great question. I've been thinking about it too. So maybe what I'll do is I'll sort of start and, I don't know.
We can all jump in.
Yeah,
We're good at interrupting.
We are.
I am the worst at interrupting.
I'm getting better at it.
The boy from Kansas City is learning.
It's true. I'm learning not to wait my turn. But okay, let me go ahead and start. So, the story of Jekyll and Hyde is about a scientist who is, very talented, very driven, ambitious. He has some means, he has some privilege. The area that he is working on is the deep inner life of the human being. He is doing scientific work on the deep inner life of the human being. And it seems like he's doing that toward the end, which is to reduce, mitigate, maybe even eliminate a large amount of the misery and violence that we all experience as human beings.
The stress of choice, right? The stress of editing, the stress of needing to harness our dark impulses. He has a belief that he can eliminate this stress? Would that
Yes,
be fair?
yes, and I think this is another important circumstance maybe in his or part of his biography. Is it does seem like it's tough to get away from the Calvinist religious, like Victorian emphasis on what is right and wrong, what is allowed, what is not, and so it's kind of coming through that to figure out how you can make yourself a good person or the person you want to be.
I should say, right, so that Stevenson writes the story in 1880s, very much Victorian UK world. This adaptation is by the playwright Geoffrey Hatcher, contemporary American playwright, a wonderful playwright who's working with us actually on this adaptation right now. But do you two agree? What do you think this is about, right? Nathan's playing Dr. Jekyll. Mm-hmm. I should say that I'm not going to say who you two are playing. It's a cast of 6. We have 3 wonderful people here, 3 more people who you will get to meet when you come to the theater. But we're titling them the ensemble on purpose to keep you on the edge of your seat. You have to come to the theater to find out how we tell this particular story. So without giving too much away, I am handing this to you. Yes, Omar, my love, what is Dr. Jekyll? Yeah, he's turning, he's thinking. Good and evil, censoring of impulses, puritanical behaviors. What do you think?
My favorite. But with that and along those kind of Calvinist lines, to me the story is almost a cautionary tale. I don't know if that's what Stevenson was going for, but when I read it before we all met up, I couldn't help but think like
the original.
The original novella, not our version. Is this cautionary? Is this what can happen to one if they try to isolate or eliminate these desires and impulses? Like what deems them evil and is purging them from ourselves the safe, proper, right thing to do? Is that a good thing to do? I don't know. So.
And I think in this adaptation, but I think it is so brilliantly drawn from ideas in the original, there's such a question of like, if you overcommit yourself or sort of, dedicate yourself to like society's idea of goodness or of morality or what's civilized, then do you run the risk of losing yourself and losing what really matters, and sort of for this idea of goodness and sort of like finding your own idea of what's right and wrong versus, especially in this, when this was written and in the world that it's written, it's such a rigid, idea that society is putting on everyone of morality.
Of what is good and what is evil, right? We're trying to break down, I feel like Stevenson and Hatcher in this adaptation are wrestling with what this fake binary is, that you can separate good from evil. But you were about...
To lawyer a little bit for Dr. Jekyll.
Okay, all right. Can you tell Nathan's playing Dr. Jekyll? I think,
So I do believe in our work now, up to this point, and especially yesterday when we were kind of finding things at the beginning of the play, that his search does not seem to be to like manifest some artificial idea of Victorian goodness. I think he's on the road. He's going for authentic, whatever that would be. I don't know, goodness, but also even like kind of peace within.
Yeah. It's interesting what you say. Jeff Hatcher, right, our adapter, said to me that he'd read somewhere, and forgive me, it's in the interview with Jeff Hatcher because I'm forgetting, which will also be on our website. But he was saying that someone was writing about how when you see sunshine filtered through, that's goodness. And when you see the corpse, say, of a dead rabbit, there's a darkness. That we have an instinctive response. Maybe that's what you're saying. Is that what you're saying? I think.
I am. I mean, we're...
That there's a good and evil response within us that's intuitive, that's beyond sort of sort of as your character says in the play, there's a morality that's put upon us to create civilization.
This is like, I mean, we deal with these things.
We're
all
going very
the time.
philosophical. This happens
This
in
is
rehearsal a lot.
Yeah.
We are, just to go on a tangent for a moment, we're at the beginning of week 3 of rehearsal. Next week, we'll move on to the stage. And the week after that, you'll see us on stage. I don't know when you're watching this, but just know that we are in the midst of it. So these kinds of conversations are happening a lot in rehearsal.
Yeah, I think it's philosophical, but it's physical
Say more.
too. Well, it's like what we're doing every day with the energy that we have and with our ability to think this or that. I mean, this is something that's just occurred to me. This is not kind of unrelated to the play, but this is like just me, Nathan. I think more and more, because I do think about things like, oh yeah, people think about right and wrong or good and evil, and it's like, okay. It seems like you can't fully throw out the fact that, as you say, there's the response to the sunlight, and then yes, there's the response to like death and decomposition. But
Right.
I sort of just want to even advocate for just changing the words, right? To like, there's positive and there's negative, or there's yes and there's no, whatever have you. Although the no, it seems like, is not going away, and the death and the whatever is not going away. And I think that I start to think that this is, I'm so curious to know what you guys think about this, but I think that this is what happens in the play, is that Jekyll is doing this work, and through circumstance, he encounters someone for whom this work is kind of meaningless. For whatever reason, this person, I don't know, maybe is just, they're not interested in this. They either have integrated or assume that one can integrate
the good, the
rough
positive and the negative,
yes.
as you would put it. And the play is kind of, I would say, advocating for how do we do that with ourselves. So I don't think you're wrong, but I don't know what you two.
Yeah, it's like, how do you live in society as the complicated, I don't know, conflictingness of humanity? It's just like, how do you show up with all of that? And this,
So how does that show up on stage? Like, what is an audience then? Because we're not doing a philosophical treatise. We're doing this very, very physical production. My joke is that nobody needs to join a gym through this rehearsal process. Not that anyone needs to join a gym. I'm not,
We're getting our steps.
I'm just saying you're getting your steps in because it's a very physical production. So I guess part of what I think theater can do, and I wonder how you all feel about this being in the middle of it, but that it takes these abstractions, these philosophical ideas, what is good and what is evil, how do we integrate them, which when we read them on the page can be kind of dry. But when we see it in the theater and it's Jekyll and it's Hyde and it's a little scary and it's a little creepy and it's a little surprising, but you're embodying these ideas.
Yeah.
Right? So what is it like to be in the middle of it, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Well, it's a very suspenseful yarn. It's a great,
it's a good story
where, there's a lot of physical surprise. There's, you could talk about the philosophy that's in Hamlet, but it's a revenge tragedy. It's
right.
It's
right.
a great,
there's lots of sword fighting in Hamlet.
And surprises, and this play. Exactly, fully has that. I mean, this is, the novella is this way, and Hatcher's version certainly is this way, and whatever. Everything in theater really should be somewhat an entertainment. I mean, we want
to be entertaining. This is our goal.
We expect that it will.
Please, what's it like to be inside it right now, you two? It's a very cool set, right?
It really is, yeah.
Shout out to Sarah Brown.
Shout out, absolutely.
I know there's so much the set is just like you called it on the first day of rehearsal, an actor's playground. Which
I quoted
him.
Right, it's actually Omar's line to give full credit.
But it kind of does. It feels like you could crawl. I mean, there's lots of surprises and fun to be had with this set, and a lot of like my favorite thing to go see in the theater, which is like stage magic, like watching something on stage and going like, how did that happen in front of me? And that's, it's not like this is not a kitchen sink drama. This is
No,
at all.
no,
It
no.
is like,
Nothing realistic,
no,
right?
no.
There are moments that feel
human,
real.
but it's it's just so theatrical and so alive and the energy is, and I think the energy of also people playing multiple characters.
That's right. Every actor is playing, most actors are playing several roles, and it's kind of a celebration of how much fun it is to tell a story in a theater, I think.
Yeah.
I was laughing to myself, thinking of a response, because I'm like, oh, it feels electric, but I also feel grounded in this work. Something about the physicality of it all is one layer, but something about all this activity sort of mirrors what's happening upstairs for me as I'm doing it. But
I
also
love
seems to
that,
speak to
right?
the
Because
story.
that's what I was saying. I mean, we're really, Nathan, how you're speaking about the good and evil and what's up to it, I hope we're embodying, or rather you're embodying. I'm sitting behind a table.
For
I
now.
should,
For now. We
yeah,
might
well,
have
no,
its own-
well, it's, no, I'm in the right place. Trust me. I'd say Omar is also our fight choreographer or violence director.
Violence designer,
Violence
fight choreographer,
designer.
fight director, fight consultant. I've been them all.
Yeah.
You know.
We have a movement person, shout out to Shura Baryshnikov, who's doing a wonderful job creating a vocabulary of movement. And what do you think about the physical struggles that you're staging while you're acting? And I think Omar gets the stage on himself, which is kind of interesting. I will say today, I saw Omar beat someone to death. That was kind of fun.
On stage. On stage.
Fake blood, fake everything, I promise. No one's being hurt in the making of this play. But we do have a lot of physical life. And you are dealing with a lot of different ways of physical encounters. What's your process like on a play when you're both, have you been in a play and choreographed it at the same time before?
Not frequently, but it's been a thing I've done before. It's funny, I try to isolate myself from it as much as I can, but what helps is being so deeply interwoven in the story. And with the nature of what we're doing, like, since it's very ensemble based, like, we really are building this thing from the ground up, like with each other. And it's just nice to have that story effectively encoded in my DNA to a point. So I'm like, oh, I don't have to think as hard. Like, I'm in the world, I don't have to construct as much.
Yeah, it's not like you're visiting the room and suddenly trying to figure out who everybody is.
Right, like at tech, and then it's, because like it's an afterthought, but here I am from the get-go.
It's sort of, it's so how physical this play is, so speaks to things that we've been talking a lot about in rehearsal, the research of this time too. It's like this, it's this time with these like two juxtaposed, like, everyone's in corsets and it's very, I don't know, rigid. And then there's this like underbelly of extreme violence in this society too. And like Jack the Ripper and all, and it's
Which
like,
is simultaneous, right?
Exactly, yeah. And one seems to sort of make way for the other, maybe. And I think like, there's like a roughness to this time.
Oh, I love what you're saying, right? Because I feel like it's part of what Stevenson is writing, and that Jeffrey Hatcher is really conveyed in this adaptation is the hypocrisy of behaving well, and what that means versus what our natural impulses are. And there's a wonderful line, Nathan, what's the line at the end of the novella, right, where Dr. Jekyll writes a letter about how exhausting. Well, I'm paraphrasing, but
I mean, the as I remember it, he gives kind of his testimony of the story finally, and he's writing of his experience of life, and he says that my life has been 90% effort. And it's so interesting because it feels like effort for, I mean, you could think like, effort to stay buttoned up, fine, effort to deny these impulses. Could even just be like effort to go on. I mean, there's certainly an implication, and Stevenson certainly had mood issues. And
Physical.
yes,
Yeah, he was
for
physically
sure.
ill a lot. Yeah.
For sure, yeah. I mean, his childhood was like many feverish episodes, and how that affected his dreams is
So
something that
this
I'm
is,
kind of starting to get into a little bit. But like, yeah.
Well,
it's
that's
so
interesting. So when you all enter a play, what kind of research do you, I mean, what kind of research did you do for this? You're all familiar. We refer to the novella a lot. I know, Nathan, you've done other Jeffrey Hatcher plays, as have I. He's a dear friend and collaborator of mine for many years. But what kind of, what do you do before you get into the rehearsal room? How do you think about preparing for a play like this?
Yeah, you look at the time period. You
Yeah.
look at the
Because you're
the
talking about
source
corsets and
material
Jack the Ripper, so
yeah. And the source material too, because I think this, Jeffrey Hatcher's adaptation is such a beautiful modernizing of the story, while also based on looking at other adaptations, bringing out so many things that I've never seen brought out in other adaptations about this story, and reading other plays by Jeffrey Hatcher has such a kinetic energy to his plays, and an intricacy, and you want to sort of we're sometimes in rehearsal we're really trying to figure out the details and the puzzle piece and how it all goes together, and valiantly, because I think you need it. It's
really a puzzle.
It's
This
beautifully
play,
complex. Yeah.
when you watch it, I think you'll be arguing as you leave the theater what really happened. I mean, and you'll need to see it again. I mean, I think this is a play you want to see early, because you're going to want to be able to talk about it, and then you're going to want to be able to see it again and go, oh yeah, I was right. I saw that happen early in the play, and that's what happened later.
I think with that, I love the energy of sort of questioning what you're witnessing, or rather having multiple answers.
Right.
As opposed to having one assigned to you. I like, for myself, reading source material so I can kind of learn the rule set. But then when we rehearse, how can I break it?
How can we subvert it?
How do we
right?
subvert it?
We do some things in period,
Yeah.
and then some things we're like, yeah, we're just gonna have a good time on stage.
Yeah.
And surprise everybody.
Yeah. I mean,
With respect.
With respect, always with respect at Hartford Stage.
and to Mark Twain.
To Mark Twain.
Definitely, I like to read whatever thing that I'm doing, as many times as I can, and kind of never stop.
What was the number? Who was it that said that? Didn't you share that?
Oh, no, I think it was
Jenny.
Jenny. Jenny was talking about Anthony Hopkins, right?
Reads a script 350 times.
Yeah, and I think I heard it differently. I think I heard it once about him that he thinks that he has said all of his lines 1,000 times before he walks onto the set. That's pretty great. I would say additionally, and I don't know how this happens. I mean, this is just one's desire and one's daydreaming, and I don't know that there's a way to say, okay, here are the steps to get to this, but what I try to do throughout the time I'm working on something is always try to find out how it matters. How it matters to
today,
me,
and
to you,
yes.
to today, to whoever's coming. I mean, or just how it matters, and as much. Yeah, and as much as I can have on the line when it comes to that.
That's well said.
I find that the better, or the more fun.
So why does it matter? Why does it matter that we're doing this play now? I'll answer too, but asking you all first, right? Because I love the question. Why come see Jekyll and Hyde? Why be in Jekyll and Hyde at this moment in our history?
I want to question this duality in me, or this supposed or imposed sense of duality. Kind of we were all talking about, what I mentioned before. Do I sit in between these things? Am I all these things? Does that matter? Is that something that we will all experience, that the audience will experience? Because that's just a big takeaway for me in this story. I just asking me about me with anything.
Right.
Yeah.
You're at one point in one scene, you say you're talking about good and evil, right? And there's that sense of we do question always, and I think we're at a moment with a lot of conflict, a lot of divisiveness in the world. What is good? What is evil? And do these categories count?
Right. And there are a lot of questions brought up in our story, in our production, and not all of them necessarily answered, which I think is real.
Right. We're
resonant.
asking questions, not answering them.
Right. Yeah.
Sarah, what were you going to say? I'm sorry, I cut you off before.
It's going to sound trite, but
No.
it's this thing of like, don't judge a book by its cover. I think is like such a part of this story or something.
That's right. What you think is not good
Yeah.
might be better than you think, and
Right.
vice versa.
Or
No, I
and
think
also
that's
sort
great.
of like investigating the parts of yourself that you dismiss or judge or and sort of wondering if actually possibly within those there's virtue to be had in there, and maybe that's
great.
there's possibility for those because there's vulnerability often in those parts of yourself, and I think like that just the questioning. This is what you were saying, but the questioning this play does of our inner lives and sort of what the assumptions we make about it, and then like once you dig deeper, like just looking at yourself in a much deeper way. I
I
think.
love that.
Yeah.
It makes me really look forward to audience conversations in the lobby afterwards. So, what are you most looking forward to? Last question. What are you most looking forward to about being in performance with this, which we will be in a couple of weeks? We have some time. Don't worry. We have time. We have lots of time. But what do you look forward to an audience receiving or to your experience on stage at Hartford Stage during this play?
I mean, I do hope people come back. I think there are little fun, like Easter eggs and surprises and things like that.
Yeah.
And I hope that there's a lot of surprise and thrill in
Because it's
this.
a wild ride. It's fast. I mean, it's a very fast storytelling exercise.
Once you get on the train, you do not get off in
That's
this
right.
play. And I think that's really fun as a performer too. That's like
Yeah,
my
there's no
favorite thing
time to do
do.
crossword puzzles backstage
No.
on this play.
There's no
You
naps
will
in the
be
dressing
on
room.
stage
No,
all
no.
the time. Yeah.
And I think like and the ability to sort of transform quickly and feel those transformations within, that's such a theme of this story, this idea of transforming yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, and that's like what we like to do, and that this play gives you a lot of opportunities to do that.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The physical and psychic presence of the audience.
You matter a lot. We need you
Yes,
so
yeah.
much
Oh
to
my
tell the
God.
story.
I
yeah.
mean, we love stories. We want to get deep into stories. We want to get up and put the clothes on and walk around, But like, and we're doing that now, and we're having fun doing that just in our room. But like, when the audience gets there, they offer and invite a whole new experience, a whole new, we understand what it is with you and from you, and we share it. I don't know if that's...
No, I think that's wonderful.
I'm always giddy about that.
Anything?
I mean, to be the Hyde to his Jekyll, I kind of like, I like it for me. I'm excited to go out there with y'all and have a good old time dressing up and getting weird and having, I love, please come audience, love you. But the other side of it, since that's what all this is about, the multiple sides of everything, is I cannot wait to play with all of you in this playground with all of this, because it is a nonstop little train, like you said. And that really just drives me. So I'm excited for that.
It's a great roller coaster ride. I mean, they're wonderful. The whole cast is wonderful. The set is gorgeous. And it's just a really good story, right? I mean, just bottom line.
Yes, our director.
Oh, did you know about that?
doing
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
pretty famous.
It's really fun. Yeah, I should say I'm directing the play. Maybe I didn't say that. But We're having a wonderful time. I just want to thank you all for doing this with me, and I want to thank the Mark Twain House. It is so fun to be in this gorgeous living room, to really feel the period that Stevenson was writing in as well. It feels both familiar and strange in the way that good stories, old stories, make us feel like we're reminded of something about ourselves, and yet we remember the scope of history that we're part of. You should come see this museum. But of course, I'm also here to say you need to come see Jekyll and Hyde at Hartford Stage. We start performances October 10th. We run through November 3rd. There's more info on our website. You should also look to see we have talkback performances, so you can hear more about the making of Jekyll and Hyde. Just pick those performances on our webpage. Tickets are available at hartfordstage.org. And our box office, I'm going to read the phone number, so write it down in case you're not looking online, is 860-527-5151. Also, it's the first play of our 61st season. It's a really cool season. We're doing August Wilson, we're doing Shakespeare, we're doing 2 amazing new comedies. It's really a season to uplift and remind you why it's so important to not sit alone at home. However good the material is on TV and on your computer, it's just more fun to breathe with us and be in a space with us. So come join us, come see Jekyll and Hyde, come subscribe to our season, be a part of the magic that is Hartford Stage and the importance of downtown Hartford and Hartford, Connecticut in general. So we love the Mark Twain House, we love Hartford Stage. I'm so grateful to the 3 of you. Gracias, and we'll see you at the theater.